Hello and welcome to What the Tech from Boast AI, where we talk to some of the brilliant minds behind new and exciting tech initiatives to learn what it takes to tackle technological uncertainty and eventually change the world. Today I'm thrilled to welcome Hudhaifah Zahid, co-founder and CEO of Econommi. At Econommi and his team are building a new generation of interest-free models that revolutionize private markets by digitizing real-world assets. Their unique technology can tokenize almost any asset. With over a decade of experience in economics, finance, and blockchain technology, Hudhaifah has a proven track record of developing cutting-edge risk-scoring algorithms and creating efficient, debt-free financial systems, with expertise in enhancing liquidity, transparency, and returns for investors. He is passionate about transforming to an asset-based economy, addressing wealth inequality, and leveraging technology to create sustainable financial solutions. So, without further ado, welcome to the show, Hudhaifah.
Wow. Thank you. That was an excellent introduction.
Thank you for calling it excellent, but I want to hear from you. Tell me about Hudhaifah. How did you get into this space? You've got a really impressive background and you turned it into a really, really impressive company. So tell me how it all started.
It all started with my family. I'm a very family person. My parents and I so we've been in Canada since 1998, right? But then my dad went to Malaysia to teach as a professor there for a few years. And, we followed him. We were expats there, making decent income. And then we decided to come back to Canada for school and many other reasons. So the first thing we needed coming back was we needed a car. We went to the car dealership to apply for a loan, as anyone would. And it took 24 hours to get approved. And when we finally got approved, it was prime plus 10% that we got. Why? They didn't want to recognize my dad's income because it was foreign income. And I'm like, he had student loans, never missed a payment in his life. Why are they mispricing us? And that's what started me on the journey in some sense to look for alternatives. It got me into the blockchain space. It got me to understand fiat. And brought me back to cars at the end of the day, because that's where we hit a rock. And now we're like, let's bust this rock open.
I love it. Okay, so you hit on a few things that I want to call back on. First off, I love that it all came back from family. I feel like that's been an unexpected trend on some of our podcast guests recently, just because it's been people who have felt an acute problem that has impacted the people they love, and they wanted to find that solution. And really, I'm thinking specifically about, we had Manmeet from Trexo Robotics on the show, and he had a cousin with cerebral palsy. So he went into the world of active mobility. Completely different take on innovation, but I love that you were tackling this for your dad. I also immediately wrote down the student loans of it all, because I know firsthand that makes me feel like I'm shackled. I went to Emerson College. I'm not going to pretend I didn't enjoy the education I got, but oh my God, I don't think I've made a dent in it. And I've never missed a payment. I've never missed any of that. I don't own a car. I don't even want to start the process because I'm so averse to it all. Yeah, I do everything right, but it doesn't necessarily always show up in my FICO or anything like that. So I know that's a bigger conversation than anything else, but I just love how genuine and really solution-oriented you were from the start in diving in on all of this. Now, tell me about Econommi. Now, you gave us a little bit of the genesis, but what exactly are you guys doing over there?
Sorry, before I get into that, for FICO scores and updating, fighting the credit powers that be, you gotta talk to Simran. She was with Econommi before, and she's going after TransUnion right now. Simran's a very common name. It's a Sikhi name, a Punjabi name. I mean, it's among the Muslim community as well, actually. And there are so many Simrans, so that she just gets all these other new people on her credit history. And she's like, what's this? I never did this. Anyway, as you said, completely different, big, huge topic, but I love to introduce her to you later.
Absolutely. I'm Paul Davenport III.
Okay.
And so by having the most generic white guy name, I have that problem. There are other Paul Davenports and it's influencing my credit score. So we'll take that offline, but yeah, that's so interesting.
Econommi then. Typically right now, we partner with dealerships, mostly focused in BC right now, and we offer them speed. That's the bleeding neck wound that we found. They have to wait 24 hours for a deal to be approved. And by that time, they lose a customer. They have expressed that they have 16 approved applications here. they've all been approved, but the customer's never coming back. And it's extremely frustrating. So that's a core problem that we're solving. Speed. We're getting deals done in under an hour, and in an ideal case, 15 minutes. We're building it out so that people can get pre-approved and apply from home even for a car lease. This has come to improve dealership sales by 8 to 12%. And specifically, we do attract, newcomers, self-employed people, and Muslims with the model that we offer. It's a flexible approach. It's a fee-based model, interest-free. And the key benefit that we offer really is that you build equity faster with our lease than an interest-bearing one. As you said, making a dent in your loans, it's like, that was the experience with my family as well. Like, we brought our assets over from Malaysia and we're like, okay, let's go pay off this car, right? Because next up we want to get a mortgage. So we got to pay off the car and do that. We go to pay it off and we think, oh, we're at least 10%, like we're at least 20% through, right? We're done like a year, but we still have most of it left to pay off. Plus it was like a fixed rate, not a fixed fee. It was a just rate. And there was early termination penalties on that. And I was just like, this is insane. They're just out to get us. But having an understanding of financing and finances, I've come to realize that that's just simply the nature of how interest rates work and how they're structured. And that's why we're like, you know what, let's try something interest-free. Let's do a fee-based model. Let's do an equal payments plan where if you're halfway through, you're actually halfway done. And altogether, just to finish what econommi actually does is, we get these people who are mispriced, we get them approved in under an hour with dealerships, and then we take these lease contracts and offer them to investors to participate in. Accredited investors can invest and earn 30% cash on cash yield per annum, 17% IRR.
30% cash on cash yield. Nice. I love also what you said about the equal payments plan. When you've actually paid half, you've actually paid half, which is not the case. I've learned the hard way. Again, we won't go down the student loan conversation, but wow. I'd love to know too, are there any competitors in your space? Who's doing, if there is anybody, anything even remotely related to what you guys are doing at econommi? It sounds like something that's completely net new to me, but tell me a little bit about the market you're swimming in.
Yeah. So you can approach our business from different angles, right? In some sense, it's a lending platform. In other ways, it's a dealership platform, and then you could talk about traditional leasing, right? But when we're looking at subprime lenders or just people lending to newcomers, and there are a few people out there. So I'd say like Quantify in Canada. I know Canada Drives did some of it as well, although they get a lot more operationally involved. And then when you look at the lending platform approach, you have GoPeer. GoPeer is a really great platform in Canada where they offer debt consolidations and things like that. But yeah, bringing the two together or really offering a different model, like in the leasing space, I don't believe there is anybody else. And the one last competitor that I'd mentioned, they're out in the UK actually. Carmula is actually also really trying to solve that bleeding neck wound problem for dealerships, where they get deals done fast and they have very similar economics to what we have as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, I just even want to go back to that point where you can get done in best case 15 minutes, but worst case could take 2 days. That makes or break the whole relationship when you're having these conversations about these purchase decisions too. That's huge. Now, I'd love to know, obviously you're doing something very different, even going through the competitors in your space. I don't hear anything that is one-to-one with what you guys are doing. This is net new. This is unique. That's the kind of innovation we want to talk about on this podcast, obviously, which again is why I'm glad that you're here, Hudhaifah. But could you tell me a bit about the unique R&D that goes into economy?
You got it. So I'd say there's two main areas where we've had to innovate and invest heavily in. And Arvind, my COO, actually could speak to this better, but I remember him calling up Salesforce at the beginning because we were looking at, we're like, why should we build it all ourselves? Like, we can probably use some other leasing software and do this, but everybody else has a built-in interest-based model, and nobody had something that could work the way that we needed. And then, to take that a step further, to offer it as an investment opportunity, like that just wasn't there. So we call up Salesforce and we're like, hey, what do you think of this? We go through like just identifying the framework of what it might look like. And they quote us $38,000 upfront, $8,000 a year, plus $1,000 for every dealership that we add on. I might have gotten the numbers a little wrong, but it was something around that ballpark. And we're like, we'll just go and build this ourselves. Like, clearly nobody's got what we need, so we'll just build it ourselves. So a lot of our efforts in R&D and even what we might claim shred against is directed at our accounting system. It's quite unique. We break every lease down into $100 pieces and really accrue the fees and earnings, super streamlined, automated, so that we can make the whole process very simple and easy from, as we said, fast and easy for the dealership, but also fast and easy throughout the whole process of, collecting the payments and offering them to investors. The other area is, we are inspired by blockchain technologies and the crypto space. We don't actively utilize or offer it to the public. However, we've been spending a good amount of time really working there because we believe that's where the future lies. Having these contracts on chain and being able to just skip the bank entirely, being able to invest as an accredited investor on chain where you have ownership of your money and you can see all the dollars coming in. There's complete visibility. You don't have to trust me to tell you how much money there is in the bank account. You don't have to trust your accountant. You don't have to pay your accountant to do the math. You can see it all being done right in front of you. Like, that's where the future is headed. And we do have the platform capabilities to do that. It's not entirely live yet, but you can play with a demo if you want.
Oh, that is awesome. I think that you're hitting the nail on the head with that kind of traceability of it all. I think that's been the missing link for a long time in a lot of these transactions. And I think that transparency is missing in all of these conversations today until, again, economy came into the scene. So now bringing it back to Hudhaifah and you about building a business. Tell me about some of the community or just other stakeholders or support you've experienced along the way in building economy. Obviously, it sparked from a very genuine source. Like we said, you were solving an acute problem that was affecting your family. You've mentioned some members of your team who have been there, who helped you build the product, but what has the journey looked like and who have been players in that journey?
So we didn't actually start with this business model, right? As startups do, that we pivot through things. Initially, it started as a peer-to-peer car rental company. So we can pull that up later, but I just want to acknowledge him.
Actually, point too. I'm like, we firsthand have experienced that here at Boast. Our founding team, Lloyd and Alex, they're kick-ass. They built this business, but again, they exited when it made sense for them to exit as operational CEOs and C-suite members. They're still intimately involved with the company, obviously. I'm a big fan of them. Lloyd has been a huge supporter of ours, but I just want to echo that point. It's something that founders don't always talk about, but you do need to, for the better of your business and for yourself, sometimes take that leave when it presents itself. So just want to hammer that home.
No, not at all. Thank you for hammering it home. But yeah, Ahmed and I actually started at UBC renting out cars. And we wanted to be, we actually were the first peer-to-peer car sharing marketplace in BC. Now, Turo obviously has the crown on that worldwide, and that's what the inspiration was, obviously, from Turo. We just wanted to take advantage of regulatory changes to just set this up and get acqui-hired by Turo. That's where it initially started. It all really came together though when the I call it trauma, but just to dramatize it, but the trauma with interest rates came back at us during COVID. Nobody wanted to rent cars, and I was looking for a way to keep the business alive, refinance the cars that we owned ourselves. And I was quoted 32% interest rates to refinance. And I'm like, I might as well just shut down the business at this point. That doesn't make sense. But the opportunity came that someone wanted to rent long-term before buying out a car. And I was like, okay, when an opportunity comes to you, you got to really take a look at it. But we didn't have the cash to really support it. We needed the cash. So I called up friends from UBC and I was like, hey, you guys want to buy 10 pieces of this car? Give me the cash I need, support this guy in his long-term rental or lease, and earn a good return. And I was surprised. They all came through. Everybody, they put money in. We got that first deal done December of 2020. And when you have one deal done, you have revenue, right? It's you have revenue. And now I start calling up dealerships that we worked with, or I start calling up a few other partners and just trying to understand the market. And apparently there was one. And since then, we've done 140-ish deals, deployed almost 1.5 million Canadian. Right now, there's roughly 85 active cars on the platform. And we're working on closing a $10 million facility to take this to the next level. I don't know how much I touched on to like the actual community around us, but I guess I'll just add that it's, yeah, my UBC friends, support from like, the crypto community, support from the Muslim community, and just support from people who I've been working with from before, like in the startup space. It's significant. Like every check matters. Even the words that we say or encourage each other or smile, like everything's a contribution. And I really do appreciate it.
Absolutely. No, you took the words right out of my mouth. I think that you absolutely explained to me the power of community in your specific way, but also that all founders should be looking for too. Like you identified that opportunity and then you looked towards your community to be like, hey, there is a market here. I'm going to go for it. Get in on this with me. We're all going to be in this together. I'm going to steer the ship, but it's a team effort at the end of the day when it comes to that actual investment that got you guys going. And again, 85 cars on that. That's amazing. I'm sorry. Those are just some great numbers that I was jotting down while we were talking, and I'm very impressed by it. Great job with it.
Thank you.
Another thought too. I was very unfamiliar with the like peer-to-peer rental service as it was. I was up in Vancouver with my buddy Assad, who used to be our product marketing manager. And I was like, are we stealing a car right now? Because we were leaving a bar and he had done the Turo, I think is what it's called. And he's like, nope. He's like, just follow me. I'm like, okay, I'm really trusting you here. We don't have that in Boston. I don't know if it's a regulation thing, but it's really, really cool. And I'm glad that, again, like the opportunities are there. And I think it's unique to BC a little bit too, or at least unique to the Vancouver area. The way the UBC folks support each other, the way the like accelerators in the ecosystem support each other. We're a Vancouver-based business originally. I think without the community partners that Lloyd and Alex had at our Genesis phase, we wouldn't have gotten off the ground. And now we're a global network. I'm here in Boston talking to you guys. And I mean, it grows. If you have that goodwill, even if it's just a smile and having folks chat with you for a little bit, I think that can go far. And
it really can. I think, Vancouver, it's like to bash on ourselves a bit much. It's easier to do when it's raining, But I think in the past 10 years of being here, like the city's really kind of come together, and I just see more and more events popping up and just having a lot more activity. Like, why it's a smaller city than Vancouver. How is this happening here? That's not. And then like, I realized later that, it's in the middle of like three major cities like Houston, Austin, Dallas, and San Antonio, and the government seat of Texas, right? So you have a lot of people coming in and out, but not necessarily like staying. There's a lot of tech investment too, and that's why it's like a smaller city, but it's still quite vibrant. Vancouver's kind of like way up here on the northwest coast. And despite that, like a lot of innovation, a lot of like great startups and founders from here. Yes, many of them do make the choice to move south or east, but it's like a lot starts here, and the community is continuing to grow, like despite and through COVID. Like it's a supportive community. Even I will say, like working with Diraj from Get Fresh right now, right? He made the introduction. Yeah, incredible support, and people. It's great to be around people like Diraj, yourself. It's just there's a support network. They get what you're dealing with. There is that Canadian founder mindset that they're like, look, you don't have to be that way. And they get you to level up and live into your destiny, for lack of better words. Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to turn into a Vancouver love fest, but I agree with everything that you just said there too. And I think a lot of folks stay in Vancouver too. And that's why so much I think is happening out there. If anything, I feel like the center of gravity is moving to Vancouver. It's not so much that people are moving away and taking it with them. I mean, like Collision Conference is moving up to Vancouver. I was so happy to hear that because I had gone to Innovate West, which I think was back in April, up in Vancouver. Then I went to Collision Conference in July, and then they're like, we're doing this in Vancouver again. I was like, great. I had a lot more fun in Vancouver, to be honest. I love Toronto. This isn't picking favorites, but it just was fresh in Vancouver, and people were really hungry. And I think that hunger isn't going away. Even mainstays like Diraj, like Chris Hobbs from TTT. I saw that he was liking a post. We're going to be doing an event in late August with the guys from Finask and Faskin, and
That's it.
Google Cloud's going to be sponsoring it with us too. And I'm just name dropping at this point, but these are people who want to be there.
Want to do it.
And I'm here in Boston. We consider ourselves innovators. It's a completely different vibe. I don't want to be poo-pooing different metro regions, but like the startup hunger and just like the Canadian way of doing it, it's so much more welcoming. I think it's very supportive. I just like that. I'm a big fan, and I really feel privileged that I can be an unofficial member of the Vancouver community from here in my perch on the East Coast. So that's
Honor.
awesome.
You're right. Always
All right.
welcome.
So, Hudhaifah, final question before we hop off. Any advice for folks looking to get into entrepreneurship today, to start a business, to even just maybe explore what their options might be if they wanted to get into the startup scene or build some new cool tech in 2024?
I gotta tell you, I don't like the question.
Yeah.
And mainly because it's easy to, I think, share generic advice or experience, right? And it almost never applies. And that's why, so I'll make that my answer.
Oh,
That
great.
I found that a lot of like what I might have heard or read, just it's out of context. It's out of my context, my team's context. And obviously, knowledge is knowledge, right? But then it it it's not effective until you're actually in it. And then you pick and choose. I mean, honestly, like cookbooks and recipes, right? It's like you don't have the same wok or pan that the chef had. You don't have the same oven that they had. Like, yes, you have generally the similarish ingredients, but like even the quality of the ingredients actually differ. So for like someone who's never cooked before, it's like, oh yeah, just follow the recipe. And then for
Yeah.
anyone who's cooked, it's like, no, bro, you gotta like cook it your way. There's no way about it. So yeah, definitely check ChatGPT or read the recipe book. But I couldn't tell you how to cook. You got to ride the bike, That's my experience of it. Yeah.
I think that's good. I agree with you. It's almost actually a trick question because I think when people say that there's a formula or that there's one way to go or that it's one to one, of course not. Everyone who we talk to has a different founder story. I know I shared that example about Mammeet from Trexo earlier, but despite being family based in terms of their motivation, completely different journey and completely different path, even on like the global stage. So I think that's a perfect answer. Even just using myself as an example, I went to school for print and multimedia journalism. I'm now working in tech. I'm now working in marketing for tech. I'm still telling stories and I still think I'm doing those things, but I almost considered going to grad school. I learned more by joining a marketing agency and getting started on just writing and doing the work and doing a high volume of work than I think any of my friends who I don't want to say wasted a few years paying for a grad degree in writing got. And I feel like I'm better, more agile, and more marketable as a result. So just going and doing it and learning for yourself and being open to it.
I like that. You know what? Maybe I do have an answer. Which is like, oh, great. Now you're just contradicting yourself. But I will say one thing that stuck with me when I first joined UBC, Imagine Day, they do like 8,000 new students. And a question was posted by the professor. And he's like, what does the world need most? And, I was like, oh, tech or economic, whatever. But then, yeah, the word that came across was compassion. And I was like, oh, shit. Okay. Like, wow, why didn't I think of that? And ever since then, I've been really looking at, okay, what is compassion? And a friend of mine's like, everyone has their own take on it, right? But it's become a core value for our company in being compassionate finance. And a friend of mine, at least, she would say that say what you mean, say what you mean what you say, and don't say it mean. And I actually really love that. And that's how I've adapted compassion. My COO, Arvin, might say, well, that's just integrity. And you know what? Maybe it is. But compassion, integrity, and really putting your ego aside are such key, again, just words until you actually bring to practice, because practice is entirely different for every single person. But yeah, compassion, integrity, and being able to put your ego aside is absolutely critical for life in general.
Absolutely. I am making a t-shirt and putting it on my whiteboard. Say what you mean, what you say, don't say it mean. That is fantastic.
Uh,
If we could do a title of episode that could be that long, it would be that. That is fantastic because I think you embody that. I know we're over time, but I do want to ask what's in store for the rest of 2024? What do you guys have planned for the rest of the year? What's some stuff that we can look forward to for folks who are watching along?
You got it. I mean, we have 20 new dealerships in our pipeline, and we're just adding to that. There's 4,000 dealerships across Canada, and we're just barely working with 6 of them. And it's been great. The feedback from the dealerships, they want to offer what we have to their customers. So that's where we're raising the facility for, and to be able to really deliver our solution to all of them. So I expect that here, we're setting out right now to achieve really by end of year that another $6 million worth of deals are done and deployed to at least the 20 additional dealerships in our pipeline. And we'll have another 100 more and really start charting our path to the $100 million deployed in the next year or two.
I love it. It's theme of 2024 is going to be scaling up and growing for you guys. Well, Hudhaifah, I cannot thank you enough. This has been fantastic.
Thank you. No, likewise. Really enjoyed it. You're an excellent, excellent host.
You've been a great guest, and I'm saying that with integrity. This has been really fun.